Hi guys, welcome back to my class. I'm your Korean teacher, Emma from seemile. What did you accomplish during your previous class? We learned how to use the connective ending 으려고 to describe the reason for doing something. We also learned how to make future plans using 으려고 하다 and 으려고 했다 to describe past plans that didn't really work out. Today, we are going to learn about some other connective endings. Most of them are used to describe conditions related to situations or actions referred to in the preceding sentence. Before moving on to that, let's take a look at the vocabulary we are going to cover throughout this lesson. Repeat after me out loud as a memory aid. 모두, 즐겁다, 차다, 멀리, 날아가다, 부탁하다, 예약, 제주도, 축구하다, 축구장, 아프다, 바느질, 못하다, 지다, 멈추다, 힘들다, 달리기, 너무, 마파두부, 덥다, 목도리, 많다, 울다, 펼치다, 집회, 기타, 부르다, 동전, 넣다, 음료수. Good job! Then let's get started. The first ending we are going to cover today is 으면. To begin, let's watch a video and guess what this ending is.
아람이는 백화점에 가면 가방을 구경해요.
히토미는 책을 읽으면 밥도 안 먹어요.
카이가 드럼을 치면 모두가 즐거워해요.
로안이 공을 차면 멀리까지 날아가요.
아람이는 백화점에 가면 가방을 구경해요. 백화점에 가다, 가방을 구경하다. Can you guess what the speaker is trying to say? Something like, Aram goes to the department store and there she sees some bags. In other words, what is the condition under which Aram browses through the selection of bags? Yes, when she goes to the department store. So to indicate that the preceding statement is a condition of a following statement, you can use this 으면 ending. It is like saying when or once in English. As you may have already noticed, when the stem ends in a vowel or the consonant 리을, then 면 is used. When the stem ends in a consonant other than 리을, then 으면 should be used. Here, 가다, the stem 가 ends in a vowel. That's why it's conjugated here as 가면. 아람이는 백화점에 가면 가방을 구경해요. Now let's practice. As usual, please pause the video for a moment. Try to say these sentences out loud in Korean and then replay the video to check your answers. I know you may be wondering how to convey the thought of even here because you haven't learned how to do it yet. Well, one way to do it is by using the particle 도. You may say, wait a minute. Doesn't that mean also? And if that's what you're thinking, you're right. You have a good memory. But this particle 도 can also be used to convey another meaning depending on the context. 도 at times is used to emphasize unusual or extreme conditions. We all have a natural instinct to survive, so people usually like to eat and usually try to avoid skipping meals. But in Hitomi's case, she prefers reading books to eating. So when she is in the midst of a book, she's so focused, she even skips her meals. Not everyone likes reading that much, so it can be considered an unusual thing. To convey that thought, 도 is needed. 히토미는 책을 읽으면 밥도 안 먹어요. 카이가 드럼을 치면 모두가 즐거워해요. As a brief review, when speaking about another person's feelings, not that of the speaker himself, the emotion-related adjective is usually accompanied by the ending 아하다, 어하다. This ending describes the fact that someone is feeling a certain emotion. If it isn't used, it would literally mean that the speaker is experiencing the same emotion felt by another person at the moment, and that concept doesn't make sense in Korean. So the correct way to say this would be 카이가 드럼을 치면 모두가 즐거워해요. 로한이 공을 차면 멀리까지 날아가요. 로한이 공을 차면 멀리 날아가요 is also correct to say. This ending 으면 also can be used like the way we use if in English. In other words, to present possibilities based on conditions that are as yet undetermined. For example, how can you invite your friends to go to the sea on the weekend if the weather is nice? Let's go to the sea. 바다에 가요. If what happens? If the weather is nice. 날씨가 좋다. We're not sure yet if the weather's going to be nice this weekend, but still, if that happens, let's go to the sea. And 으면 is appropriately used to express that idea. 주말에 날씨가 좋으면 바다에 가요. How about this? You're not sure yet if it's going to rain soon, but if that does happen, you'll need an umbrella. That's what this sentence means, right? So 비가 오다, 비가 오면 우산이 필요할 거예요. Now repeat after me out loud as a review. 아람이는 백화점에 가면 가방을 구경해요. 히토미는 책을 읽으면 밥도 안 먹어요. 카이가 드럼을 치면 모두가 즐거워해요. 로한이 공을 차면 멀리까지 날아가요. 주말에 날씨가 좋으면 바다에 가요. 비가 오면 우산이 필요할 거예요. The next ending is 으려면. Let's watch the related video first and guess what role this ending plays in a sentence.
스시를 먹으려면 히토미에게 부탁하세요.
카이의 식당에 가려면 예약을 하세요.
제주도에 가려면 비행기를 타세요. 로한과 축구하려면 축구장으로 가세요.
부탁하다 is to make a request or ask a favor of somebody to do something. So 아람 is saying 스시를 먹으려면 히토미에게 부탁하세요. Meaning, if you feel like eating sushi, Kai should ask Hitomi as a favor. I guess to make or buy it for him. Next, 카이의 식당에 가다, 예약을 하다. What do these two clauses have to do with each other? Yes, again, the second clause shows what Rohan needs to do to fulfill the purpose stated in the first clause to go to Kai's restaurant. To go to Kai's restaurant, Rohan should book in advance. 카이의 식당에 가려면 예약을 하세요. Now, did you figure out when to use 으려면? Yes, when you need to indicate what the speaker or listener needs to do to fulfill the stated intent or purpose mentioned in the preceding clause. Can you recall any endings you learned quite recently that are used to convey someone's intention? Yes, 으려고 하다. Can you also recall another ending that shows that the preceding statement is a condition of the following one? Yes, 으면. So this 으려면 is actually the shortened form of the combination of 으려고 하다 and 으면, which is 으려고 하면. So it literally means if you have the intention to do something, or simply put, in order to do something. Due to this rule, a sentence ending with 으세요 or 아야 해요, 어야 해요 often follows one that utilizes 으려면. Here, 으세요 is the respectful form of a request, and 아야 해요 is used to indicate the action the subject of the sentence needs to take. That's why 부탁하세요, 예약을 하세요 are used here. Here's 해요 is more like ordering or telling the listener to do something. So if you want to merely convey information about what the speaker needs to do to fulfill certain purpose, you would use the ending 아야 해요, 어야 해요. 스시를 먹으려면 히토미에게 부탁해야 해요. 카이의 식당에 가려면 예약을 해야 해요. Like 먹다. If a verb stem ends in a consonant other than 리을, 으려면 should be attached as in 먹으려면. On the other hand, if it ends in a vowel or the consonant 리을, then 려면 should be added as in 가려면. Now let's practice. 제주도에 가려면 비행기를 타세요. Or 제주도에 가려면 비행기를 타야 해요. 로한과 축구하려면 축구장으로 가세요. Or 로한과 축구하려면 축구장으로 가야 해요. How about this sentence? Well, to be healthy is adjective, so you can't attach 으려면 right after the stem. 건강하다. But there's still a way. As you learned in lesson 21, to express the purpose of attaining a certain state, like becoming healthy, you would use 아지다 어지다 to the adjective stem. It means to gradually become what's described by the preceding adjective. So to say be healthy, it's 건강하다, and becoming healthy is 건강해지다. 건강해지려면 운동을 자주 하세요. 건강해지려면 운동을 자주 해야 해요. Good job! Now repeat after me to practice what we just learned. 스시를 먹으려면 히토미에게 부탁하세요. 카이의 식당에 가려면 예약을 하세요. 제주도에 가려면 비행기를 타세요. 로한과 축구하려면 축구장으로 가세요. 건강해지려면 운동을 자주 해야 해요. Now let's watch the next video and see what we are going to learn about next.
히토미는 아파도 병원에 안 가요.
카이는 만두는 만들어도 바느질은 못해요.
로아는 해가 져도 공차기를 안 멈춰요.
아람이는 힘들어도 달리기를 안 멈춰요.
히토미는 아파도 병원에 안 가요. 히토미는 아파요. 히토미 is sick. What is a sick person expected to do? To take medication or go see a doctor. But in Hitomi's case, 병원에 안 가요. She doesn't go see a doctor even when she's sick. She does the opposite of what's expected of her. Next, 카이는 만두를 만들어도 바느질은 못해요. Let's suppose that Kai's friends assume that Kai would be good at sewing since he's clever with his hands, like making pretty dumplings. Well, as it turns out, Kai is not really good at sewing. The reality is contrary to the expectation. As you may have already guessed, 아도 어도 are endings used to indicate that the situation referred to in the second clause happens despite the assumptions of or facts stated in the first clause. It's like saying even though, even when in English. As shown here, when the last vowel of the stem is o or a, use 아도. Otherwise, use 어도. Of course, when the verb ends in 하다, then change it into 해도 as in 공부해도. Now, as usual, please pause the video and try to say these sentences out loud in Korean, and then replay the video to check your answers. 로하는 해가 져도 공차기를 안 멈춰요. 아람이는 힘들어도 달리기를 안 멈춰요. To say something is difficult, we would say 어렵다, and this phrase requires irregular conjugation. To give up is 포기하다 in Korean, so 아람이는 문제가 어려워도 포기하지 않아요. To oppose is 반대하다, and the subject is 히토미, so 히토미는 아버지가 반대해도 가수가 되고 싶어 해요. 카이는 바빠도 히토미를 만나러 가요. To go out to take picture is 밖으로 나가 사진을 찍다. What connective ending should be used with the verb 나가다? Well, you're going to learn that soon. So, 눈이 내려도 조는 밖으로 나가 사진을 찍어요. Good job! If you got especially this sentence right, then that means that you remember the deletion rule very well. For the sake of repetition, can you explain this phenomenon again? It applies when the stem ends in the vowel and meets an ending that starts with a vowel. In that case, that disappears. For example, 아프다 conjugates not to 아프아도, but 아파도. And also here, the dictionary form of to be busy is 바쁘다, but when it combines with an ending that starts with a vowel, 아도 어도, the of the last word of the stem, p, gets deleted and becomes 바빠도. You can find more examples on page 173. Alright, now repeat after me as a review. 히토미는 아파도 병원에 안 가요. 카이는 만두는 만들어도 바느질은 못해요. 로하는 해가 져도 공차기를 안 멈춰요. 아람이는 힘들어도 달리기를 안 멈춰요. 아람이는 문제가 어려워도 포기하지 않아요. 히토미는 아버지가 반대해도 가수가 되고 싶어 해요. 카이는 바빠도 히토미를 만나러 가요. 눈이 내려도 조는 밖으로 나가 사진을 찍어요. The next sentence we are going to discuss now is actually not new to use. 은데. It was covered just 2 lessons ago, remember? Let's watch a video and talk about it in more depth after that.
냉면은 맛있는데 너무 차가워요.
카이가 마파두부를 만들었는데 존이 안 먹어요.
히토미는 더운데 목도리를 하고 있어요.
아람이는 가방이 많은데 또 샀어요.
냉면은 맛있는데 너무 차가워요. 냉면 tastes good, which is the good aspect of 냉면, but at the same time it also has a problem. It's too cold. 너무 차갑다. So these two clauses make statements that are kind of contrary to each other, and as you already know, to connect these types of sentences, you need to use 은데, meaning but in English. As a review, let me tell you that 는데 needs to be attached to the stem of a verb or the words 있다, 없다, regardless of whether it ends in a consonant or a vowel. On the other hand, when you're dealing with the stem of an adjective that ends in a consonant other than 리을, you need to use 은데. Lastly, when you're dealing with the stem of an adjective that ends with a vowel or the consonant 리을 or the stem of 이다, 아니다, then 니은데 would be attached. Alright, again, please pause the video for a moment and say these sentences out loud in Korean. Then replay the video and check your answers. 카이가 마파두부를 만들었는데 존이 안 먹어요. 히토미는 더운데 목도리를 하고 있어요. 아람이는 가방이 많은데 또 샀어요. Good job! You've already learned this point before, so this time let me go into a bit more depth about this ending. 은데, 는데 is also used to connect two clauses and gives additional or background information about the following clause. Although it can be used to say the equivalent of so and but in English, the form does not indicate a chronological order to the clauses. For example, look at this sentence. 마파두부를 만들었는데 먹을래요? What is the background behind the speaker's invitation to eat? He made some 마파두부. So it basically means I made some 마파두부, so why don't you try some? 날씨가 더운데 바닷가에 갈래요? Again, what background information can you glean behind the speaker's question? Yes, that the weather is hot. So it basically means the weather is hot, so why don't we go to the sea? Now repeat after me out loud. 냉면은 맛있는데 너무 차가워요. 카이가 마파두부를 만들었는데 존이 안 먹어요. 히토미는 더운데 목도리를 하고 있어요. 아람이는 가방이 많은데 또 샀어요. 마파두부를 만들었는데 먹을래요? 날씨가 더운데 바닷가에 갈래요? Alright, now finally the last point of study for today's class. First, let's watch a related video.
존이 집에 들어오니까 고양이가 울고 있어요.
히토미가 책을 펼치니까 지폐가 있었어요.
존이 기타를 치니까 로한이 노래를 불러요.
동전을 넣으니까 음료수가 나왔어요.
존이 집에 들어오니까 고양이가 울고 있어요. What did John discover when he came home? Yes, that the cat is crying. 존이 기타를 치니까 로한이 노래를 불러요. What starts to happen when John starts playing the guitar? 로한 began singing a song. Likewise, 으니까 is used to cue the listener that the speaker is going to say what happened as the result of the situation mentioned in the preceding clause. Now, as usual, please pause the video for a moment to try out these sentences in Korean and then replay the video for the answers. 히토미가 책을 펼치니까 지폐가 있었어요. 동전을 넣으니까 음료수가 나왔어요. This 으니까 is also used to emphasize that the preceding statement is the cause, reason, or premise for the following statement. Look at this example. 시간이 없으니까 뛰어가세요. What does 시간이 없다 have to do with 뛰어가다? Yes, 시간이 없다 is the reason why the speaker tells the listener to run. 오늘은 추우니까 외투를 입어야겠어요. Why does the speaker decide to put on outerwear? Yes, because of the cold weather. Again, repeat after me out loud. 존이 집에 들어오니까 고양이가 울고 있어요. 존이 기타를 치니까 로한이 노래를 불러요. 히토미가 책을 펼치니까 지폐가 있었어요. 동전을 넣으니까 음료수가 나왔어요. 시간이 없으니까 뛰어가세요. 오늘은 추우니까 외투를 입어야겠어요. Great job! Now let's go on page 178 to solve the questions here and review what we've learned today. Number 1. Choose the right picture. 히토미는 아파도 병원에 안 가요. Hitomi doesn't go see a doctor despite what circumstance. 아파도. So picture number 1 is the answer. Next, 존이 기타를 치니까 로한이 노래를 불러요. What happened as John started playing the guitar? Yes, 로한 began singing songs. So picture number 3 best describes the sentence. Now question number 2. Complete the sentence. Choose from the list. Number 1. 히토미는 더 목도리를 하고 있어요. 더 should be the stem, but there's no word like 더다. It seems like 덥다 got conjugated irregularly, and as 피읍 became 우, only 더 is left here, right? When it's hot, people usually don't wear a scarf, but Hitomi is. So 아도, 어도 is the most appropriate here. 더워도. 히토미는 더워도 목도리를 하고 있어요. Number 2. 동전을 넣어 음료수가 나왔어요. The speaker intends to say that the 음료수 came out as the result of inserting some coins, so 넣으니까 would be the right answer. 동전을 넣으니까 음료수가 나왔어요. Number 3. 카이의 식당에 가 예약을 하세요. The speaker is telling the listener to make a reservation. For what purpose? To go to Kai's restaurant. So 려면 would be the answer, which is like saying in order to in English. 카이의 식당에 가려면 예약을 하세요. Number 4. 존이 집에 들어오 고양이가 울고 있어요. As John came into the house, what sight met him? 고양이가 울고 있어요. 존이 집에 들어오니까 고양이가 울고 있어요. Number 5. 아람이는 힘들 달리기를 안 멈춰요. When it gets hard to keep running, chances are that the person will stop running. Contrary to that expectation here, Aram, even though it's hard to keep going, she doesn't stop. To describe this type of situation, the 아도, 어도 ending should be used. 아람이는 힘들어도 달리기를 안 멈춰요. Number 6. 히토미는 책을 읽, 밥도 안 먹어요. When is Hitomi not even interested in eating? Yes, when she's reading books. The condition that makes Hitomi forget about eating a meal is reading a book. She must really love reading books, right? So the particle that indicates the existence of a condition, 으면, would be the answer. 히토미는 책을 읽으면 밥도 안 먹어요. Number 7. 아람이는 백화점에 가 가방을 구경해요. When does 아람이가 가방을 구경해요? Yes, when he goes to the department store. Again, 으면, which is like saying when or once in English, is the most appropriate choice to fill this blank. 아람이는 백화점에 가면 가방을 구경해요. Lastly, number 8. 냉면은 맛있, 너무 차가워요. When something is tasty, that's good. But it's too cold, that could possibly be a problem. So these two clauses are contrary to each other. That's why 은데, 는데 should be used. As for 있다, 는데 precedes it, so we would say 맛있는데. 냉면은 맛있는데 너무 차가워요. Now, let me tell you what problem I have and how I can solve it. 냉장고에 음식이 많으니까 무엇이 있는지 잊어요. 이미 재료가 많아도 몰라요. 무엇이 있는지 기억하려면 메모를 붙여야 해요. 또 냉장고에 음식을 많이 넣지 않으면 잘 기억할 수 있어요. Now it's your turn. Please pause the video for a moment and share with us what you're struggling with these days and how you're going to overcome the situation. As I've just done, please use a dictionary if needed and don't limit the words you use just to those you've already learned. Excellent! Well done, guys! This lesson familiarized you with how to use 으면, 으려면, 으니까 and 아도, 어도 to describe what does or does not cause a certain situation to occur. We also practiced using the 은데, 는데 ending again with new examples. I know some of you may have felt that today's class was a bit tough, but again, as I mentioned before, please don't give up. As you keep on studying Korean, what once seemed difficult will become more natural, and then boom! One day, without even noticing that you're doing it, you'll be using grammar structures that you once thought you'd never master. What you're going to learn during the next class isn't something new. You've already encountered endings that enable a verb or adjective to modify the noun that follows it. You'll learn some more expressions incorporating these 은, 는, 을 endings in them. So, see you next class. Bye!